The morning air on Tizen 7 was cold and sharp. Dr. Yuna Kang sat in her observation blind, watching the sunrise paint the rocky valley in shades of orange and red. She had been coming to this spot for 6 months now, always before dawn, always alone. The Vraka were creatures of habit. They hunted at sunrise and sunset, when the light played tricks on their prey's eyes. Yuna had learned their patterns, their calls, the way they moved through the tall grass like flowing water. The pack she studied had 11 adults and 5 cubs. She knew each one by sight. Behind her, the research station was waking up. Hyun-soo would be checking the perimeter sensors. Dae-jin would be running security protocols. Ji-won would be making coffee and complaining about the cold. But Yuna was here, 3 kilometers from safety, watching monsters. The Vraka were beautiful monsters. They stood 2 meters tall at the shoulder, covered in scales that shifted color with their mood. Their eyes were crystalline, catching light like gemstones. Their claws could tear through steel. Their jaws could crush bone. The galaxy classified them as apex predators, dangerous megafauna, creatures to avoid. Yuna thought they were magnificent. She had started leaving food offerings 2 months ago. Nothing large, just preserved meat packs left at the edge of the valley. Hyun-soo didn't know. He would have forbidden it. Dae-jin would have locked her in her quarters. But Yuna had studied pack hunters on Earth. She understood the language of gifts. The alpha female appeared first. As always, Yuna called her Nari, though she would never say the name aloud at the station. She moved with the confidence of an unchallenged ruler. Behind Nari came the cubs. Yuna's breath caught. The cubs never came this close. They usually stayed back with the other adults, learning to hunt on smaller prey. But today, 3 of them were walking straight toward her blind. She froze. The blind was just camouflage netting over a metal frame. It wouldn't stop a curious cub. It wouldn't stop anything. The cubs were young, maybe 6 months old. They were already nearly 2 meters long, their adult teeth growing in sharp and white. Their scales were lighter than the adults, marked with spots that would fade as they aged. They moved with the clumsy confidence of children who didn't yet know fear. The largest cub reached the blind first. It sniffed at the netting, its crystalline eyes reflecting Yuna's own shocked face. Behind it, the other 2 circled, cutting off any escape route. Yuna had faced down Earth predators before. She had tracked lions in Africa, studied wolves in Siberia, swam with sharks in Australia. She knew the rule. Don't run. Don't show fear. Don't break eye contact. She met the large cub's gaze and waited. The cub huffed, a sound like a small engine starting. It pawed at the netting. One claw, just one, could open her throat. Yuna's hand moved slowly to her emergency beacon. One press would bring Dae-jin and his weapons. One press would end this moment, and maybe end any chance of real contact. She didn't press it. The smallest cub made a chirping sound. It was a baby sound, one Yuna had heard them make to their mothers. The large cub backed away from the blind, and the small one approached. In its jaws, carried carefully, was a stone. The cub dropped the stone at the edge of the blind and sat back, waiting. Yuna stared at the stone. It was volcanic glass, smooth and dark, catching the sunrise like a mirror. It was the kind of thing a cub might find while exploring, the kind of thing that caught light and seemed magical, the kind of thing a human child might treasure. Her hands shook as she reached forward and picked up the stone. It was warm from the cub's mouth, smooth and perfect. She held it up so all 3 cubs could see, then slowly pulled it into the blind. The cubs watched her with interest. The smallest one chirped again, a sound almost like pleasure. Yuna opened her field kit with careful movements. She took out a protein bar, standard human rations, wrapped in shiny foil. She unwrapped it slowly, broke it into 3 pieces, and tossed them toward the cubs. The large cub caught one in midair. The others scrambled for their pieces. They sniffed the strange food, then ate it in quick gulps. More chirping sounds followed. For 10 minutes, Yuna sat with 3 apex predators, eating protein bars like treats. Then Nari called from the valley. A deep sound that resonated in Yuna's chest. And the cubs ran back to their pack. Yuna sat in the blind for another hour, shaking with adrenaline and wonder. The stone was still in her hand, warm and smooth. She had just made contact. Real contact. The kind that changed everything. When she finally returned to the station, Ji-won met her at the airlock. "Where were you?" Hyun-soo is furious. "You missed the morning briefing, and—" Ji-won stopped talking when she saw Yuna's face. "What happened?" Yuna walked past her, through the corridors, into her office. She set the volcanic glass stone on her desk, right in the center, where the light from the window would catch it. "Yuna?" Ji-won stood in the doorway. "A gift," Yuna said quietly. "From what?" "From them." Ji-won's eyes went wide. "From the Vraka? You got close to the Vraka?" Hyun-soo's voice boomed from down the corridor. "Kang, my office, now!" Yuna touched the stone one more time, feeling its smooth surface. Then she turned to face the consequences. Hyun-soo's office was small and efficient, like the man himself. He stood behind his desk, his face red with anger. "3 hours," he said. "You were gone for 3 hours without checking in. Do you know what that does to our protocol? Do you understand? That I had Daejin ready to launch a rescue mission?" "I was observing," Yuna said calmly. "You were risking your life." Hyun-soo slammed his hand on the desk. "These are not pets, Dr. Kang. These are apex predators. One wrong move, and you're dead. They brought me a gift." The words hung in the air. Hyun-soo stared at her. "What?" "The cubs. 3 of them came to my blind. They brought me a stone. I accepted it and gave them food in return. It was first contact, Commander. Real first contact." Hyun-soo sat down heavily. "You're telling me that you exchanged gifts with creatures that could have killed you in seconds?" "Yes. And you think this means something. I know it means something. Gift exchange is a universal sign of social intelligence. They didn't attack me. They didn't show aggression. They offered something valuable to them and waited for my response. That's not instinct, Commander. That's communication." Daejin appeared in the doorway. "Sir, you need to see this." The cameras caught the whole thing. They watched the footage in silence. Yuna saw herself from the external cameras, saw the cubs approaching, saw the moment the stone was offered. She saw herself accept it, saw the exchange of food. Hyun-soo watched it 3 times. "This is impossible," he said finally. "The Vraka are classified as non-sapient. They're predators, not diplomats." "Maybe we classified them wrong," Yuna said. "Or maybe," Daejin said slowly, "we've never had a human study them before." Hyun-soo looked at both of them. "I'm restricting your field access, Dr. Kang. No more solo observations. No more unauthorized contact. This is too dangerous. Commander, that's final." He turned to his console. "I'm sending a report to Earth. They need to know about this." Yuna left the office, defeated but not broken. In her quarters, the stone sat on her desk, catching the afternoon light. She picked it up, feeling its weight. A gift from a predator cub. A bridge between species. A promise of something more. She wouldn't stop. She couldn't. The cubs had chosen to reach out. And she would answer, no matter what it cost. The stone on Yuna's desk had company now. 3 weeks had passed since the first gift. Despite Hyun-soo's restrictions, Yuna found ways to return to the valley. She went during approved observation hours, always with Ji-won as her official partner. What Hyun-soo didn't know was that Ji-won had become a believer. The second gift came from a different cub. This one brought a bone, cleaned and polished by the acidic soil of Tyson 7. It gleamed white in the morning sun. Yuna accepted it and offered dried fruit in return. The cub had chirped with what could only be called delight. The third gift was a cluster of crystal formations, probably torn from a cave wall. The fourth was a strange seed pod from a tree the Vraka didn't eat. The fifth was a smooth river stone. Each time, Yuna accepted the gift with ceremony. Each time, she offered something in return. Food, mostly, but also simple tools. A metal mirror. A plastic ball that bounced. The Vraka cubs loved the ball. "This is incredible," G1 whispered during one observation. They watched as 3 cubs batted the ball between them. Their movements coordinated like a team playing a game. They're playing. Actually playing. Pack hunters need to learn cooperation, Yuna said, making notes. Play teaches strategy. But they're playing with something you gave them. That's different. That's cultural exchange, Yuna finished. She looked at the adult Vraka watching from a distance. Nari sat at the valley's edge, her crystalline eyes fixed on Yuna. And she's letting it happen. She's letting her cubs interact with an unknown species. That takes trust. G1 lowered her camera. Yuna, what if you're right? What if they really are intelligent? Not just smart like Earth dolphins, but actually sapient. Then we're watching history happen. First contact with a predator species. The galaxy has never seen this before. The galaxy, however, was about to take notice. Ambassador Tae-Young Shin arrived on a cold morning, his shuttle touching down with official precision. He was a tall man, with gray hair and tired eyes, someone who had seen too much of the universe's politics. He represented Earth in the Galactic Union. And he didn't look happy. "Dr. Kang," he said, shaking her hand in the station's conference room. "Your report has caused quite a stir. Good or bad?" Yuna asked. "Both." He pulled up a holographic display. "The Galactic Union is concerned. Most member species are prey-evolved. Herbivores. Filter feeders. Scavengers. They built their civilizations by avoiding predators, not befriending them. The idea of intelligent apex predators terrifies them." Hyun-Soo leaned forward. "But surely they can see the evidence. The gift exchange, the social behavior, the learning capacity. They see danger," Tae-Young said flatly. "The Council is considering declaring Taesan 7 a restricted world. No contact with the Vraka. No research. Just observation from orbit." Yuna felt her stomach drop. "They can't do that. We're on the edge of proving sapience. If we cut contact now, if you continue contact, you might get killed." That's their argument. Tae-Young looked at her carefully. "I need to see this for myself. I need to understand what you've found." So Yuna took him to the valley. They went at dawn, just the two of them. Hyun-Soo had protested, but Tae-Young pulled rank. This was diplomatic business now, beyond a station commander's authority. The ambassador was quiet as they set up the observation blind. Yuna placed her latest offering at the usual spot. A package of dried meat and a small hand mirror. Then, they waited. Nari appeared first, as always. But this time, she didn't stay at the valley's edge. She walked forward, closing the distance to 50 meters, then 40, then 30. "Is this normal?" Tae-Young whispered. "No," Yuna breathed. "She's never come this close." The alpha female stopped at 20 meters. Her scales had shifted to a deep blue. A color Yuna had learned meant curiosity. Nari's eyes locked onto Yuna's, and for a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Nari made a sound. It was low and complex, with harmonics that seemed to carry meaning. She repeated it 3 times. "What is she doing?" Tae-Young asked. I think she's trying to communicate. That sound, it's not a hunting call, or a warning. It's something else." Nari turned her head and called again. The cubs came running, all 5 of them now grown into adolescents. They surrounded the offering Yuna had left, sniffing and investigating. The smallest one, the one who had brought the first stone, picked up the mirror. The cub stared at its reflection, tilting its head. Then, it made a sound, almost identical to Nari's call. "It's learning language," Yuna said, her voice shaking. "She's teaching it to speak to us." The cub carefully carried the mirror back to Nari. The alpha female examined it, then did something extraordinary. She looked into the mirror, then looked at Yuna. Then, back at the mirror. She was making the connection. Reflection equals self. Only sapient beings understood mirrors. Tae-young was recording everything, his hands steady despite his shock. "This is Dr. Kang. Do you understand what this means?" "It means we're not alone," Yuna said. "It means they've been waiting for someone to see them as more than animals." Nari set down the mirror and picked up the meat package. She tore it open with practiced ease and divided it among her cubs. Equal shares, carefully distributed. Then she looked at Yuna again and made that complex sound one more time. Yuna stood up slowly. She placed her hand on her chest. "Yuna," she said clearly. Nari's eyes narrowed, focusing intently. Yuna repeated the gesture. "Yuna." The alpha female made a sound. An approximation of the name filtered through a throat designed for different sounds. It wasn't perfect, but it was recognizable. "Yuna," Tae-young actually gasped. Yuna pointed at Nari. She had no word for the creature. No name she could give that would mean anything. So, she waited. Nari seemed to understand. She made a sound, a specific series of tones that Yuna's voice couldn't reproduce. But she tried anyway, her approximation clumsy and wrong. Nari made the sound again, slower this time. Patient. For 10 minutes, they exchanged sounds. Names, perhaps. Greetings. The foundation of language. Then Nari collected her cubs and left, but not before the smallest cub dropped another gift at Yuna's feet. This time, it was a piece of worked stone, deliberately shaped into a smooth oval. A tool, or art, or both. Back at the station, Tae-young was on the communicator for hours. Yuna sat in her office, the new stone joining the collection on her desk. 12 objects now. Each one a message from another species. Ji-won brought her coffee. "The ambassador wants to see you." Tae-young's expression was serious when she entered the conference room. "I've sent my report to the council. Full documentation, all recordings, my personal testimony." "And?" Yuna asked. "And they're sending an evaluation team, but there's a problem." He pulled up another display. "A research group from the Galactic Institute has submitted a counter-report. They claim you're anthropomorphizing the Vraka, seeing intelligence where there's only instinct. That's ridiculous. You saw. I know what I saw. But the lead researcher, Dr. Sang-min Yu, is respected in xenobiology. He's convinced the council that your methods are flawed, that the Vraka are just very clever animals responding to food rewards." Yuna felt anger rising. "Then let him come here. Let him see for himself. He is coming. He'll be here in 2 weeks, with the evaluation team." Tae-young met her eyes. "Yuna, this is going to be a fight. The council wants a reason to declare this planet restricted. They're scared of what the Vraka might mean. A sapient predator species challenges everything the galaxy believes about evolution and civilization. Then we'll prove them wrong," Yuna said firmly. "How?" She looked at the collection on her desk. Each stone and bone and crystal a testament to connection. The same way we started. One gift at a time. Over the next 2 weeks, Yuna documented everything. Every interaction, every exchange, every moment of learning. The Vraka cubs were growing bolder, bringing more complex gifts. One brought a woven nest from a bird species, showing understanding of other creatures' creations. Another brought a broken piece of human technology, a sensor that had fallen from a drone, proving they understood the connection between objects and the humans. Dae-jin, won over by the mounting evidence, helped set up better recording equipment. Hyun-soo, though still worried, stopped restricting Yuna's access. The day before Sangmin's arrival, Nari did something unprecedented. She came to the station perimeter with all 5 adolescents. They sat just beyond the fence, waiting. Yuna went out to meet them, alone but unafraid. Nari had a gift. It was large, carried carefully by 2 of the cubs. When they set it down, Yuna saw it was a flat piece of stone, and on its surface, scratched with deliberate care, were marks. Not random scratches, patterns, symbols. The beginning of writing. Yuna picked up the stone with trembling hands and showed it to the Vraka. Nari made that complex sound again, the one that might be a name or a greeting or a promise. Yuna took the stone inside and placed it in the center of her desk collection. Tomorrow, Sangmin would arrive with his skepticism and his reports. Tomorrow, the fight would begin. But tonight, Yuna had proof. Sapient minds had reached across the void between species and made contact. The shiny stones on her desk weren't just prizes anymore. They were a declaration of intelligence, written in a universal language of gift and trust. Dr. Sangmin Yu arrived like a storm. His shuttle landed with unnecessary force, kicking up dust across the landing pad. He emerged wearing expensive climate gear and an expression of profound disapproval. "Dr. Kang," he said, not offering his hand. "I've read your reports. Fascinating fiction." Yuna kept her face neutral. "Dr. Yu, welcome to Tizen 7. I'm eager to show you the evidence." "Evidence of what? Clever animals doing tricks for food?" He gestured dismissively. "I've seen this before. Earth researchers get isolated, start seeing patterns that aren't there. It's a known psychological phenomenon." Behind him, the evaluation team emerged. 3 Galactic Union representatives. A Quellan who looked like a giant mantis, a Drov who resembled an upright turtle, and a Sessic whose blue fur rippled with anxiety. All prey species, all looking at the wilderness beyond the station with obvious fear. "Where are these creatures?" The Quellan clicked, her translator rendering the sounds into flat words. "In their territory," Yuna said. "I can take you to the observation point." "Absolutely not," Sangmin said quickly. "We'll observe from station sensors. I'm not risking lives on your pet theories." Rhapsod. We have the WW. We have the WWW. They're not theories when you can see them with your own eyes. I don't need to see. Your recordings are clearly the result of selective editing and anthropomorphic interpretation. Yuna felt Ji-won tense beside her. Hyunsu stepped forward. "Dr. Yu, with respect, we've all witnessed the interactions." Ambassador Shin himself confirmed the sapience markers. "Ambassador Shin is a diplomat, not a scientist," Sangmin said coldly. "Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to review your raw data. All of it." For 3 days, Sangmin picked apart every recording, every note, every piece of evidence. He had explanations for everything. The gift-giving was instinctive behavior, like birds collecting shiny objects. The mirror recognition was coincidence. The marked stone was natural erosion, not deliberate carving. "You see what you want to see," he told Yuna on the 3rd evening. "These are apex predators, nothing more. Dangerous animals that happen to be curious about new food sources." "Then explain the language attempts," Yuna challenged. "Explain Nari trying to say my name." "Mimicry. Parrots can mimic human speech. It doesn't make them sapient. Parrots don't understand what they're saying." Nari understood. She made the connection between sound and identity. Sangmin smiled, the expression cold. "Prove it." The next morning, Elder Kwanho Im arrived. He was ancient by human standards, nearly 90, but his mind was sharp as broken glass. He had studied pack dynamics across 50 worlds and written the definitive text on social intelligence markers. "Dr. Kang," he said warmly, clasping her hands. "I've been following your work with great interest. Elder Im, thank you for coming. Wouldn't miss it." He glanced at Sangmin. even with such delightful company. Sang-min's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Elder Im reviewed the evidence with meticulous care. Unlike Sang-min, he asked questions instead of making pronouncements. He wanted to see the gifts themselves, touching each stone and bone with gentle fingers. "This one," he said, holding up the marked stone. "You say the alpha female brought this? Her cubs carried it, but yes, she directed them to bring it. And you believe these marks are deliberate?" "I know they are. The patterns repeat. They're consistent. That's not erosion or accident." Elder Im nodded slowly. "I've seen similar marking behavior in the Threll packs of Kandor Prime. They were eventually recognized as proto-sapient. The question isn't whether the Vraka are intelligent. The question is whether they're intelligent enough to meet the Union's standards for sapience. Which is impossible," Sang-min interjected. "Those standards require abstract reasoning, cultural transmission, and moral frameworks. Predators don't have morality. Humans are predators," Yuna said quietly. The room went silent. "Humans," she continued, "are persistence hunters. We tracked prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We're apex predators who happen to also develop agriculture and technology. If we can be sapient, why can't they?" "Because humans are the exception," Sang-min said. "An evolutionary accident. You can't base policy on outliers." "Or maybe," Elder Im said softly, "the evaluation team wanted to observe the Vraka directly." Despite Sang-min's protests, they insisted. If they were going to declare Tyson 7 restricted, they needed to see the supposed threat themselves. Yuna led them to the valley at dawn. The team stayed well back, protected by portable barriers and Daejin's security team. Only Yuna and Elder Im approached the observation point. The Vraka were waiting, not just the pack Yuna had been studying. 3 packs had gathered, nearly 40 adults and a dozen adolescents. They sat in a semicircle around the valley floor, organized and patient. "This is unusual behavior," Elder Im murmured. "Pack predators don't gather like this. Territory conflicts would normally keep them separate." "They're not fighting over territory," Yuna said, her heart racing. "They're meeting us. All of them." Nari stood at the center of the semicircle. The smallest adolescent, now nearly full-grown, stood beside her. In its jaws was a stone, larger than any gift before. Elder Im inhaled sharply. "They're making a formal contact. Dr. Kang, I think you need to go down there." "What?" "That's insane." Sang-min's voice crackled over the comm. "She'll be torn apart." "She won't," Elder Im said with certainty. "This is a diplomatic gathering. I've seen it before, just never with predators. They're waiting for their ambassador to meet ours." Yuna's hands shook as she stood. "If I'm wrong, you're not wrong. Go." She walked down into the valley, alone and unarmed. 40 apex predators watched her approach. Any one of them could kill her in seconds. Together, they could erase her from existence. She walked to the center and stopped 3 meters from Nari. The alpha female's scales were bright gold, a color Yuna had never seen before. It shimmered in the sunrise like fire. Nari made that complex sound, the one Yuna thought might be a name. Yuna placed her hand on her chest. "Yuna," she said clearly. Nari tilted her head. "Yuna," she attempted, the sound still clumsy but recognizable. Then Nari did something extraordinary. She lowered her head, pressed her forehead against her front legs, and made a deep, rumbling sound. Around the semicircle, every Vraka did the same. A bow. A gesture of respect. Yuna's breath caught. She understood pack dynamics. She understood what this meant. Slowly, carefully, she lowered herself to one knee and bowed her head. The rumbling intensified, a sound that vibrated through the ground. The young Vraka walked forward, carrying the large stone. It was perfectly smooth, clearly worked over days or weeks. On its surface were carved symbols, more complex than before, patterns that repeated, that showed structure, the beginning of language, the foundation of writing. The Vraka set the stone at Yuna's feet and stepped back. Yuna picked it up, feeling its weight. She held it up so all the Vraka could see, acknowledging the gift with ceremony. Then, she reached into her pack and pulled out her own offering. It was a data pad, loaded with images. Pictures of Earth, of humans, of cities and art, and technology. Pictures of other worlds, other species, other civilizations, a window into the wider galaxy. She activated it and set it on the ground, showing the first image. Earth from orbit. Blue and beautiful. The Vraka gathered closer, not threatening but curious. Nari examined the device, her crystalline eyes reflecting the screen's light. She touched it carefully with one claw, and the image changed. A human city. Towers of glass and steel. Nari made a sound, soft and wondering. She looked at Yuna, then at the city, making the connection. Yes, Yuna whispered. That's where I come from. That's what we built. Nari turned to her pack and made a series of complex sounds. The other Vraka responded with their own calls. A conversation. A discussion. Elder Im's voice crackled in Yuna's earpiece. They're deliberating. I think they're deciding whether to accept contact with the wider galaxy. The discussion lasted 10 minutes. Then Nari turned back to Yuna and made a sound that could only be interpreted one way. Yes. Yuna stood slowly, the carved stone in her hands. I understand. I'll speak for you. I'll make them see what you are. Nari pressed her forehead against Yuna's shoulder, a gesture of such trust and intimacy that Yuna felt tears sting her eyes. This was a predator that could kill with one bite, showing affection to an alien creature. Around them, the pack began to sing. A complex harmony of sounds that resonated across the valley. It was beautiful and terrifying. A chorus of apex predators welcoming a new member to their world. When Yuna returned to the observation point, Sangmin was pale. The evaluation team looked shaken. Elder Im was smiling. Well, the elder said, I believe we have our answer. That proves nothing, Sangmin said, but his voice lacked conviction. Trained animals can be made to perform behaviors. Those weren't trained animals, the Quellan representative said, her translator clicking rapidly. That was a diplomatic ceremony. I've seen enough interspecies negotiations to recognize one. The Drav representative nodded slowly. The Galactic Union requires proof of sapience. I believe we've witnessed it. One ceremony doesn't prove a civilization, Sangmin argued desperately. No, Elder Im agreed. But combined with everything else, it proves enough. The question now isn't whether the Vraka are sapient. It's what we do with that knowledge. Back at the station, Yuna placed the new stone on her desk. It was too large for the display, so she cleared space and put it in the center. The other gifts surrounded it, like satellites around a planet. G1 stood in the doorway. What happens now? Now we wait for the Council's decision. They can recognize the Vraka as proto-sapient and allow continued contact, or they can declare the planet restricted and cut us off. And if they choose restriction, Yuna touched the carved stone, feeling the deliberate patterns under her fingers. Then, we fight. Because the Vraka chose to reach out. They chose to communicate. They chose us. Why? G1 asked. Why did they choose humanity? Yuna thought about it. About Earth's history of living alongside predators. Of being both hunter and hunted. Maybe because we understand them. We're not afraid of teeth and claws. We know what it means to hunt, to protect a pack, to build something worth defending. She looked at her collection of gifts. Each one, a bridge between worlds. The galaxy sees predators as monsters, but we see them as equals. Maybe that's the difference. So, we see that, tomorrow, they would learn the Council's decision. Tomorrow, the fight for Tyson 7 would truly begin. But tonight, Yuna had something more precious than approval. She had been chosen by a pack of apex predators as one of their own. The tribunal station hung in orbit above Tyson 7, a massive ring of metal and glass that represented the Galactic Union's power. Inside its central chamber, 3 judges sat in positions of authority. A Quellan, a Morphid, who looked like living crystal, and a Huren, whose tentacles moved with nervous energy. Yuna stood before them, feeling very small and very human. "Dr. Kang," the Morphid judge said, its voice resonating through the chamber like music. "You claim the Vraka of Tyson 7. Possess sapience. The burden of proof rests with you." Behind Yuna, Advocate Unji Han stood ready. She was Earth's best legal mind, a woman who had argued cases before the Union for 30 years. Her presence should have been comforting. Instead, it reminded Yuna how much was at stake. "I understand, Your Honor," Yuna said. "I have extensive documentation. We have reviewed your documentation." The Quellan judge clicked. "We find it inconclusive. Gift-giving behavior exists in many non-sapient species. Tool use is not unique to intelligent life. Even the marked stones could be explained as instinctive territory marking." Sang Min sat in the observer section, barely hiding his satisfaction. Yunji stepped forward. "Your Honors, if I may, the evidence must be considered as a whole, not as isolated incidents. The pattern of behavior shows progressive learning, cultural transmission between generations, and abstract reasoning. The pattern shows animal conditioning," Sang Min called out. Dr. Kang provided food rewards. The Vraka learned to bring objects in exchange. It's basic operant conditioning, not sapience. The Ren judge's tentacles writhed. Dr. Yu raises a valid concern. How do we distinguish between learned behavior and true intelligence? Yuna felt frustration rising. They weren't seeing it. They couldn't see past their own fear of predators. "Your Honors," she said, "may I present additional evidence?" The Morphid judge inclined its crystalline head. "Proceed." Dr. Bo-Ra-Nam entered the chamber, carrying a portable scanning unit. She was a neural imaging specialist, one of the best in human space. She had spent the last month on Tyson 7, studying the Vraka with equipment that could map brain activity. "Your Honors," Bo-Ra said, setting up her display. "I've conducted neural scans of multiple Vraka specimens. With their cooperation, I should add. The results are remarkable." The holographic display showed a Vraka brain, lighting up with activity. "This is Nari, the alpha female, engaging in communication with Dr. Kang. Notice the activation patterns in the frontal cortex analog. This region is associated with abstract reasoning and social cognition across all known sapient species. Many animals have complex brains," Sangmin interjected. "Earth dolphins show similar patterns." "True," Bo-Ra agreed. "But watch this." The image changed, showing multiple Vraka brains side by side. This is the pack engaging in what appears to be deliberation. Notice how their neural patterns synchronize. They're not just reacting to environmental stimuli. They're sharing information, debating, reaching consensus. The judges leaned forward, studying the images. "Furthermore," Bo-Ra continued, "I've documented neural plasticity consistent with language learning. The Vraka are actively modifying their brain structures to accommodate new forms of communication. That's not instinct. That's intentional cognitive development." The chamber went quiet. Even Sang Min had no immediate response. Then the Quellan judge spoke. "This is compelling evidence of intelligence. But intelligence alone does not define sapience. Many species are intelligent without being worthy of union recognition. We require evidence of moral reasoning, of cultural sophistication, of the ability to conceive of abstract concepts like justice and cooperation." "How can we prove that?" Yuna asked. "When you won't let us continue contact long enough to learn their culture." "Because contact is dangerous," the Ren judge said, its translator making the words sound apologetic. "Dr. Kang, Understand our position. The Union was founded by species who survived by avoiding predators. Our civilizations developed because we learned to hide, to flee, to build defenses. The idea of an intelligent predator species fundamentally threatens our sense of security. But humans are predators, Yuna said. Humans are tolerated because they evolved beyond their predatory nature, the Morphid judge said. You built civilization by suppressing your violent instincts. Can the Vraka do the same? Before Yuna could answer, an alarm sounded through the station. Your honors. A technician called out. We're receiving an emergency transmission from Tazen 7. There's been an incident. I receiving incident Tazen. I well see. We were bidline. The display shifted, showing Hyun-Soo's face. He looked pale and shaken. We have a situation, he said. A corporate mining ship entered Tyson 7's orbit without authorization. They deployed ground teams to the northern continent, directly into Vraka territory. The creatures are responding. How? The Quellan judge demanded. They're gathering. All the packs in a 100-kilometer radius are converging on the mining site. We're reading over 200 adults, and they're young. They're forming defensive positions around their territory. Sang-min stood. You see? This is exactly what I warned about. Aggressive, territorial behavior. They're preparing to attack. Or they're protecting their home from invaders. Yuna shot back. The display changed to show aerial footage from the station's drones. The mining teams had set up equipment in a valley. Heavy machinery already tearing into the ground. Around them, on the surrounding hills, Vraka packs gathered in organized formations. They're not attacking, Hyun-Soo said. They're just watching. Waiting. For what? The Ren judge asked. Yuna's heart sank as she understood. They're waiting for me. They think I can make the miners leave. They think I'm their diplomat. Duplomat. Impossible, Sungmin said. They can't conceive of such abstract ideas. Can't they? Yoonji said sharply. Dr. Kang established contact through diplomacy. The Vraka responded with their own diplomatic protocols. Now their territory is being invaded, and they're exercising restraint, waiting for diplomatic channels to work. If that's not evidence of sophisticated social reasoning, what is? The Morphid judge's crystalline body pulsed with light. This is an unprecedented situation. Dr. Kang, can you mediate? Only if I'm on the ground, Yuna said. I need to speak with Nari directly. Absolutely not. The Quellan judge clicked. We cannot risk a Union diplomatic incident over unproven creatures. 1. With respect, Your Honor, Yoonji said. The diplomatic incident is already happening. Those miners are in violation of Union law by landing on a world under evaluation. If the Vraka attack and we do nothing, it proves they're non-sapient. If Dr. Kang can prevent violence through diplomacy, it proves they are sapient. Either way, we need to act. The three judges withdrew to confer. Yuna watched the footage, seeing more Vraka arrive every minute. The miners were oblivious, focused on their equipment. They had no idea they were surrounded by apex predators, showing remarkable restraint. The tribunal has decided, the Morphid judge announced. Dr. Kang, you may attempt mediation, but understand, this is your final chance to prove the Vraka's sapience. Success or failure will determine this tribunal's verdict. Yuna nodded. I understand. The shuttle ride down was the longest of Yuna's life. Yoonji came with her, along with Daejin and a security team that was ordered to stay back unless violence erupted. They landed at the station, where Ji-won had a vehicle ready. The miners won't respond to our hails, Ji-won said. Corporate ships never do. They're claiming salvage rights on unoccupied territory. It's not unoccupied, Yuna said grimly. Let's go. The drive to the mining site took an hour. As they approached, Yuna could see the Vraka formations more clearly. They weren't random gatherings. They were organized, with adults in defensive positions and juveniles protected in the center. Scouts moved on the perimeters. Communication calls echoed across the hills. A military formation. An army. The miners had set up a perimeter fence, laughably inadequate against creatures that could tear through steel. 3 humans in corporate gear were operating drilling equipment, completely unaware of the danger. Yuna got out of the vehicle slowly, hands visible. Immediately, she heard the familiar complex sound that might be her name. Nari emerged from the largest formation, accompanied by the young Vraka who had brought the first stone. They approached to the fence line and stopped. "They're waiting for permission to enter," Daejin said quietly. "They understand property boundaries." Yuna walked to the fence. The miners finally noticed, one of them jogging over with annoyance on his face. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. "Dr. Yuna Kang, chief researcher at Station 7. You're on a world under Galactic Union evaluation. You need to leave. This is unclaimed territory. We have salvage rights." "It's not unclaimed. It belongs to them." Yuna pointed at the Vraka. The miner looked up and saw, for the first time, the hundreds of predators surrounding his site. His face went white. Oh God, we need to leave. We need to leave right now." "Yes, you do," Yuna agreed. As the miners scrambled to pack their equipment, Yuna turned to the fence. Nari stood on the other side, her golden scales bright in the afternoon sun. Yuna placed her hand on her chest. "Yuna. Yuna." Nari's response was immediate. "Yuna." Then Yuna pointed at the miners. At their equipment. She made a pushing gesture. The universal sign, for, go away. Nari's eyes followed the gesture. She seemed to understand. She made a sound to her pack, and slowly, the Vraka formations began to withdraw, not fleeing, but deliberately pulling back, giving the miners space to leave. The young Vraka stayed with Nari. It approached the fence, carrying something in its jaws. Another gift. Even in this tense moment, it was a stone, but different from the others. This one was carved into a deliberate shape, unmistakable in its meaning. A figure, crude but clear. A representation of a Vraka and a human, standing side by side. Art. Abstract representation. The ultimate proof of sapient thought. Yuna took the stone with shaking hands. She reached into her pack and pulled out the datapad she always carried. She showed Nari an image, humans and Vraka together, a picture G1 had created as a hopeful concept. Nari studied it for a long moment. Then she made a sound that Yuna had learned meant agreement, approval, hope. The miners left in panicked haste, their ship launching with emergency protocols. Yuna stayed at the fence until they were gone, until the sky was clear again. Then Nari did something extraordinary. She opened her mouth and made a sound, carefully shaped and practiced. "Thank you." The words were clumsy, filtered through an alien throat, but unmistakable. English words, learned from the datapad, from months of listening and trying. Language, true language. Yuna felt tears on her face. "You're welcome," she whispered. Back in orbit, the tribunal chamber was silent as they watched the recorded footage. The carved figure sat on the table before the judges. Undeniable evidence of abstract thought and artistic expression. The Morphid judge spoke first. "I have seen enough. The Vraka demonstrate every marker of sapience recognized by the Union. They show complex social structures, abstract reasoning, cultural transmission, diplomatic protocols, and now, artistic expression and language acquisition." The Quellan judge clicked slowly. "I agree. Despite my species' instinctive fear, I cannot deny the evidence." The Ren judge's tentacles were still. "This changes everything. If apex predators can be sapient, if they can build cultures and seek diplomacy, then the Union's understanding of intelligence must evolve." "What is your verdict?" Yunji asked. "Tyson 7 is hereby designated a protected contact zone," the Morphid judge announced. "The Vraka are recognized as proto-sapient, with full potential for Union membership pending further cultural development." Human researchers are authorized to continue contact under strict diplomatic protocols. Sang Min stood slowly. Your Honors, I was wrong. I let prejudice blind me to the truth. I request permission to join the research team, to learn from my mistakes. Yuna looked at him, seeing genuine remorse in his face. Permission granted, she said. We have a lot of work to do. The tribunal ended with a declaration that would echo across the galaxy. Intelligent life comes in many forms, and predators deserve the same respect as prey. 6 months had passed since the tribunal's decision. Yuna stood at the entrance of what was now officially called the Kang Institute for Cross-Species Communication, watching a transport shuttle descend through Tyson 7's morning sky. The building had grown. What started as a small research station now sprawled across a hillside, with dedicated labs, living quarters, and most importantly, a contact zone where humans and Vraka could meet safely. They're here, G1 said, walking up beside her. 12 students, all volunteers. Are you ready for this? Yuna smiled. Ready to teach humans how to talk to predators? I've been preparing my whole life. The shuttle landed, and young people emerged, their faces bright with excitement and nervousness. They ranged from teenagers to young adults, all selected for their aptitude in xenobiology and their courage. Among them were Hana Kim and Minji Song, both barely 18, both staring at the wilderness beyond the institute with wide eyes. Dr. Kang? Hana approached hesitantly. Is it true? Did Avraka really try to speak English? More than try, Yuna said. Come inside, I'll show you. The institute's main hall had changed dramatically. Where there had once been standard research equipment, there were now cultural displays. Vraka artwork, carefully preserved and displayed alongside human pieces. Carved stones showing the evolution of their symbolic language. Recordings of Vraka songs. Complex harmonies that human musicians were beginning to understand. And in Yuna's office, on her desk, the original collection of gifts. The students gathered around the desk, staring at the stones and bones and crystals like they were holy relics. This one, Yuna said, picking up the first smooth volcanic glass, was brought by a Vraka cub named Kira. She was barely 6 months old, and she walked up to my observation blind like it was the most natural thing in the world. I was terrified, but she just dropped this at my feet and waited. What did you do? Minji asked. I accepted it. Then I gave her a protein bar. Yuna smiled at the memory. She's nearly full-grown now, and she still loves protein bars. But more importantly, that exchange started everything. One gift. One moment of trust. And it changed both our species. She picked up the carved figure, the one showing a human and Vraka side by side. This came during the crisis, when we thought everything would fall apart. It was their way of saying they wanted peace, wanted partnership, art as diplomacy. And now? Hana asked. Now. We learn from each other. And in the months since the tribunal had been transformative, the Vraka had proven eager to understand human culture. While humans discovered the depth of Vraka society, they had complex family structures, traditions passed down through generations, even forms of music and dance. Nari had become something between an ambassador and a teacher. She spent hours at the contact zone, allowing researchers to study Vraka communication. In return, she learned human language with remarkable speed. Her vocabulary was limited, filtered through a throat, not designed for human speech. But she could make herself understood. The young Vraka who had brought the first stone, whom Yuna finally learned was called something that translated roughly to bright eyes, had become a bridge between species. She was naturally curious, fearless in her interactions with humans, and patient with their clumsy attempts to speak Vraka. Can we meet them? Hana asked nervously. Tomorrow, Yuna promised. First, you need to understand the protocols. The Vraka aren't pets or curiosities. They're people. Different from us, but equally valuable. You treat them with respect, you learn their customs, and you never, ever show fear. They can sense it, and it confuses them. The students spent the afternoon in orientation. They learned Vraka body language, the meanings of different scale colors, the importance of gift exchange. They practiced making the sounds that approximated Vraka names, their human throats struggling with the harmonics. Sang-min joined the evening session, his previous arrogance replaced with genuine humility. "I made every mistake possible," he told the students. "I saw what I expected to see, not what was actually there. I let prejudice blind me to intelligence. Don't be like I was. Listen more than you speak. Observe more than you conclude." That night, Yuna sat in her office, looking at her collection. The original stone still held pride of place, but it was surrounded by so many more now. Gifts from dozens of Vraka, each one representing a connection made, a friendship formed. There was a knock on her door. Yoonji entered, looking tired but satisfied. "The Galactic Union just released their new guidelines," she said. "The Tizen protocols are now official policy. Any species showing signs of sapience must be evaluated without prejudice, regardless of their position on the food chain." "How many species are being reassessed?" Yuna asked. 17 so far. Predators that were dismissed as dangerous animals are getting second looks. And it's not just predators. Aquatic species, hive minds, silicon-based life forms. The whole galaxy is rethinking what intelligence looks like. All because of a shiny stone, Yuna said softly. All because you saw past your own assumptions and recognized another mind reaching out. The next morning, Yuna led the students to the contact zone. It was a large clearing with observation platforms on the human side and natural terrain for the Vraka. A low barrier marked the boundary, more symbolic than protective. Nari was waiting with a group of younger Vraka, including Bright Eyes. The alpha female's scales were calm blue, the color of peaceful greeting. "Students," Yuna said quietly, "meet Ambassador Nari." The students stood in respectful silence. "Huh?" Na trembled slightly, fear and excitement warring on her face. Nari studied them with her crystalline eyes, then made a sound. It was the greeting she had practiced, words shaped carefully through an alien throat. "Welcome, we teach together." The students gasped. Hearing about Vraka's speech was one thing. Experiencing it was entirely different. Bright Eyes approached the barrier, carrying something. She set it down carefully, then stepped back. A stone, smooth and shiny, catching the morning light like a small mirror. She looked directly at Hana and made an encouraging sound. "She's offering you a gift," Yuna said gently. "If you accept it, you're accepting friendship. You're making a promise to see her as more than an animal. Can you do that?" Hana walked forward on shaking legs. She knelt by the barrier and picked up the stone. It was warm and smooth, perfect for holding. "Thank you," Hana whispered. Bright Eyes chirped with pleasure, the sound young Vraka made when happy. "Now," Yuna said to Hana, "you need to give something in return. What do you have that might be valuable to her?" Hana searched her pockets. She pulled out a hair tie, a simple thing with a small charm attached. "Will this work? Try it." Hana offered the hair tie. Bright Eyes sniffed it, examined the charm, then carefully took it in her jaws. She made another happy chirp and trotted back to Nari, showing her prize. Nari examined the hair tie, then looked at Yuna. The alpha female's expression, as much as humans could read Vraka expressions, seemed almost amused. "Good," Nari said in her careful English. "Very good." Over the following weeks, the students learned to communicate with the Vraka, not just through gifts, but through gesture, through the limited shared vocabulary they were developing, through the universal language of patience and respect. Hana bonded strongly with Bright Eyes. They met daily at the contact zone, exchanging gifts and slowly building friendship. Hana learned to read Vraka moods through scale, color, and posture. Bright eyes learned human facial expressions and the meanings of different tones. Minji, meanwhile, became fascinated with Vraka art. She worked with a group of adolescent Vraka on collaborative projects, human and alien creating together. The resulting pieces were strange and beautiful, combining human tool precision with Vraka natural aesthetics. Other species began visiting Taisan 7. Prey-evolved aliens who had never imagined friendly contact with predators came to witness the impossible. Some left unconvinced, unable to overcome generations of instinct. But others saw what Yuna had seen. Minds reaching across the void, seeking connection. A Quellan researcher named Tik Tik spent a month observing. On her last day, she approached Yuna with her translator, clicking rapidly. "I was certain this was impossible," she said. "My species has feared predators for 10,000 years. But I watched a Vraka cub play with a human child today. They were laughing together, in their different ways." "How do you explain that?" "I don't explain it," Yuna said. "I just witness it. Intelligence doesn't care about teeth or claws. It cares about connection." 6 months after the first students arrived, the Galactic Union held a ceremony on Taisan 7. Officials from dozens of worlds attended, watching as Nari was formally recognized as the first Vraka ambassador. The ceremony was held at the contact zone, with both species present. Nari wore a ceremonial sash, a human tradition adapted for her body. She had practiced her speech for weeks. "We are Vraka," she said, each word carefully pronounced. "We hunt. We protect, pack, but also we learn. We make friends. We thank humans. They see us, not monsters, people." She gestured to Yuna. "Yuna, teach us to speak. We teach her listen. Together, we grow." The assembled officials applauded, the sound strange in the wilderness. Bright eyes, standing beside Nari, chirped with pride. After the ceremony, Nari approached Yuna privately. She carried something wrapped in soft leaves, a Vraka method of protecting precious objects. She unwrapped it carefully, revealing a stone figure. It was exquisitely carved, showing far more skill than the crude earlier attempts. It depicted Yuna and Nari, standing side by side, looking toward a horizon. "Gift," Nari said. "For you. For beginning." Yuna took the figure with trembling hands. "It's beautiful." "You keep?" Nari asked. "With others?" "Always," Yuna promised. "It will have the place of honor." That evening, Yuna placed the carved figure on her desk beside the original simple stone. The contrast was striking. From a smooth piece of volcanic glass to a sophisticated artwork, the journey of two species learning to communicate was written in stone and crystal. Hana visited her office, carrying her own small collection of gifts from Bright Eyes. "Dr. Kang, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why did it work? Why were humans the ones who could make contact when the whole galaxy couldn't?" Yuna thought about it, about humanity's strange evolutionary path. "Maybe because we understand both sides. We were prey once, hiding from creatures stronger than us. But we were also predators, hunting in packs, using cooperation and intelligence to survive. We know what it means to be afraid, and we know what it means to be dangerous. That gives us perspective other species don't have. So we're the bridge," Hana said. "We're one bridge. There will be others. Already, species are learning from our example. In a few generations, the galaxy won't be divided into predator and prey. It will just be people. Different but equal." "Because of a shiny stone," Hana said, looking at Yuna's collection. "Because someone accepted a gift and saw it as a promise." Years would pass. The Kang Institute would grow, training hundreds of humans and Vraka in cross-species communication. Other predator species would be recognized, following the protocols Una developed. The galaxy would slowly, painfully, learn to see past its prejudices. But it all began here, in this office, with a collection of gifts that represented something more valuable than all the technology in the galaxy: trust, connection, the promise that intelligence could overcome instinct, that understanding could bridge any divide. Una picked up the original stone one more time, feeling its familiar weight. A Vraka cub had brought this to a strange alien creature, not knowing what would happen, just hoping for connection. And that hope had changed everything. She set the stone back in its place of honor, beside the carved figure of two species standing together. Not trophies of conquest, not prizes of dominance. Symbols of what could be achieved when different minds chose to reach across the darkness and touch a shiny stone, offered in trust, accepted in hope, and treasured as a promise of tomorrow.